Red Bull just made a massive move that could tear the team apart, and Jos Verstappen is not staying silent anymore. In a single season, they've lost top engineers, reshuffled leadership, and now Jos is threatening a total split for Max. 2025 was supposed to be preparation for domination, but now, Red Bull is facing a potential Verstappen exit that could change Formula One forever. If you want the truth behind F1's biggest drama, smash that subscribe button right now because this story is unfolding fast, and you don't want to miss a second. Red Bull's empire is showing serious cracks, and this time, it's not coming from a rival team or a bad race. It's coming from within. A storm of internal exits, management reshuffles, and tension at the top has set off alarms across the paddock. But nothing compares to the warning just fired by Jos Verstappen. This wasn't a subtle hint. This was a direct challenge. A bombshell aimed squarely at the people running Red Bull today, and a sign that Max's loyalty may no longer be guaranteed. What's unfolding behind the scenes is the kind of shakeup that doesn't usually happen to winning teams. But Red Bull is dealing with something far more dangerous than an on-track threat. The team that was once a model of precision and dominance is now scrambling to manage internal fractures that could alter the course of the 2025 and 2026 seasons. And at the center of it all is the Verstappen family questioning not just performance, but trust. This collapse didn't start overnight. It began quietly, with departures that were downplayed as natural transitions. But fans and insiders noticed the pattern. Key technical staff responsible for power unit development, aerodynamic coordination, and race simulations began leaving one by one. These weren't interns. These were the minds behind Red Bull's hybrid dominance. Their exit has left a knowledge vacuum at the worst possible time, just before the all-new 2026 regulations take effect. Jos Verstappen, who has long operated in the shadows, has now stepped directly into the spotlight. His latest statements suggest Red Bull is no longer providing the stability Max needs to succeed. And Jos doesn't bluff. When he speaks publicly, it's with precision. He's a strategist, not a showman. Which is why his remarks have sent waves across the grid, waves that even Red Bull's senior leadership can no longer ignore. It's not just a message to Red Bull. It's a message to everyone. To Mercedes, to Ferrari, to Audi, pay attention. Because if Max Verstappen becomes available even hypothetically, it changes everything. He's not just a champion. He's the most complete driver of this era. And his presence determines which team controls the next phase of Formula One's future. Jos knows this. And now, he's using that leverage to maximum effect. The 2025 season was meant to be about fine-tuning, refining the car before the reset in 2026. Instead, it's turned into a damage control operation. Internally, the mood at Red Bull has shifted from dominance to defense. Meetings are no longer about long-term vision, but about plugging holes, managing narratives, and containing panic. The team is holding its breath because one more misstep, and they risk losing the driver who made them unstoppable. This isn't just another team drama. This is a moment that could shift the balance of Formula One power. Red Bull's identity has always been tied to boldness, risk-taking, and vision. But right now, they're looking fragile, reactive, and exposed. And if Jos Verstappen continues pushing, if Max begins listening more closely to those warnings, we may be witnessing the beginning of the end for the most dominant team of this generation. Red Bull's recent internal shakeup hasn't just changed job titles, it has destabilized the foundation that made the team unbeatable. One by one, senior engineers tied directly to the 2026 power unit project have walked away or been reassigned. These exits weren't limited to backroom personnel. Several were integral to simulation development, energy deployment strategy, and hybrid cooling systems, critical departments that must align perfectly for the next generation cars to function. These aren't routine losses. They're structural blows. The 2026 regulations demand total synergy between chassis and power unit development, and Red Bull was supposed to be ahead of the curve. Instead, what they're facing now is a project that's slipping out of sync. Departments are operating in silos. Simulation data is delayed. Even coordination between aerodynamics and energy recovery systems, one of Red Bull's historical strengths, is showing clear signs of disconnection. And while Christian Horner maintains a confident front, internally, pressure is mounting with every missed milestone. Max Verstappen, known for being deeply involved in car development, hasn't been blind to this. Sources close to the team suggest he's asked for repeated technical briefings and direct updates from engineers, bypassing some of the communication layers usually controlled by management. That's not routine behavior. That's a driver actively trying to assess whether his team still has the capacity to deliver. Max doesn't chase comfort. He chases clarity. And right now, clarity is in short supply. This is exactly why Jos Verstappen's intervention carries such weight. Jos is more than a father, he's a career architect. He has engineered Max's rise with laser focus, building relationships, protecting influence, and ensuring Max always had the right environment to thrive. When Jos sees a project going sideways, he moves fast. His recent statements, suggesting Red Bull is drifting from the structure that made it dominant, weren't aimed at fans. They were aimed at the team's leadership, and they were meant to force action. Internally, the Verstappens feel boxed out. Strategic decisions for 2026 are being made without consultation. Technical information is being filtered. The once fluid relationship between Max and Red Bull's technical leadership now feels distant, formal, almost guarded. That is a massive red flag. In the past, Verstappen was treated like an internal stakeholder, part of the process. Now, he's starting to feel like an observer. That change in dynamic is not only uncomfortable, it's unsustainable. Jos's warning didn't come out of nowhere. It came after months of observing, waiting, and listening. And when he finally spoke, it wasn't in frustration, it was with intent. He knows exactly how to trigger movement inside Red Bull. And by going public, he forced the team's hand. They now have to respond, because silence would be read as weakness not just by Verstappen, but by rivals, sponsors, and potential staff looking in from the outside. What's happening inside Red Bull isn't just a blip. It's the beginning of a fracture, one that could widen if not sealed fast. Jos Verstappen's message was clear: fix the structure, fix the leadership, or risk losing the team's cornerstone. Because once Max starts questioning the vision, the exit strategy isn't far behind. And for Red Bull, losing Verstappen would mean more than losing a driver, it would mean losing their identity. Jos Verstappen has always understood the game behind the game. He knows that Formula One isn't just decided on the track, it's shaped in boardrooms, during contract negotiations, and in the politics of long-term vision. His latest move wasn't a slip of the tongue. It was a carefully timed signal, not just to Red Bull, but to the entire paddock. He wanted the world to know that the Verstappens are watching and that they have options. When Jos speaks, it's never accidental. It's the opening move in a deeper strategy. What makes this warning even more impactful is how surgical it was. Jos didn't attack Red Bull publicly. He didn't criticize a specific individual. Instead, he described a subtle shift in culture, the loss of that internal cohesion that made Red Bull exceptional. That nuance was deliberate. It's far more effective to question a system than to point fingers. Because when the system is under scrutiny, everyone in the chain feels exposed. Everyone becomes accountable. And that's when things start to change or fall apart. The timing couldn't be more calculated. Red Bull is entering a phase where trust and collaboration are critical. With the 2026 regulations approaching rapidly, teams must lock down their development strategies. That means aligning aero concepts with power unit dynamics, weight distribution with energy recovery systems, and driver feedback with design simulations. But if Max Verstappen, the most dominant driver of this era, no longer trusts that system, then the project itself is at risk. And Jos knows this gives them massive leverage. Behind the scenes, Jos has likely already explored the board. He's looked at who has open seats in 2026, who's investing in new infrastructure, and which teams have the leadership stability Red Bull now lacks. Mercedes has restructured. Audi is arriving. Ferrari is undergoing a cultural reset. And all three would welcome a Verstappen-led future. Whether or not they're actively negotiating, Jos's message has opened the door. And now, it's Red Bull who must prove they're still worthy of being on the inside. Within Red Bull's hierarchy, Jos's remarks have caused a visible shift in tone. Christian Horner and Helmut Marko, once fully aligned in their Verstappen-first approach, are now navigating internal differences. Reports suggest that Horner is focused on damage control, offering reassurances and emphasizing continuity. Meanwhile, Marko is said to be frustrated with how far things have slipped, particularly in areas like technical transparency and staffing. Jos's pressure has only amplified those tensions. And then there's Max himself. Calm in public, analytical in private. He's not making emotional decisions, he's gathering data. Watching how the team responds. Listening to how the project is evolving. Max knows his window for domination is now. He also knows that staying in the wrong environment, even for one season, could cost him everything. Jos isn't pushing Max toward the exit. He's creating a scenario where that decision becomes logical, even necessary if conditions don't improve. This is the leverage phase. Jos has thrown the first punch, and now he's watching the response. If Red Bull recenters around Max, restores transparency, and stabilizes leadership, the relationship can recover. But if they delay, deflect, or downplay, the Verstappens will act. And when they move fast. For Red Bull, this is a final warning. For everyone else on the grid, it's an invitation. Because when the Verstappens are in play, the future of Formula One shifts with them.